probably my friends, my family know that my pet hate is like a lack of directness, but that doesn't mean you can't be direct and clear without empathy. So to answer your question, if you're sitting on the other side of that spectrum, and let's say you don't think you come across as rude, abrupt, or obnoxious, but you're having that feedback, there has to be a point for you where you're going to stop and pause and get honest with yourself. And that can be the hardest thing. If you have that feedback consistently, there has to be a pause there for you to look
Mm.
inwards and say, okay, do I want to do something differently here or not? Because if I'm not, this is going to impact my relationships in some way, shape, or form. And then the other thing then I often find is, if you're coming across as too aggressive or abrupt or rude, sometimes it's more than what you're actually saying, and it will often come down to your tone of voice and really understanding how can you empathize. And so I always say a really good tool is, when you are talking and adapting the way that you communicate, if you come across as too aggressive, one, take a pause. Okay, take a pause. You don't need to
Yeah, like
answer
check
straight
in with
away.
yourself.
Yeah, give your brain space to think and start with gratitude. So, whatever somebody else has said to you, whether it's a good message or not, you can thank them. Thank them for sharing that idea. Thank you for taking time to have this conversation. And it gives you a pause to then think about, how do I want to respond? And do I need to adjust my tone? So, if you are coming across on that side, I would say do a bit of a check in first of all. What is it that's coming across as rude, aggressive, or abrupt? Is it your tone? Is it the fact that you've got I was going to use slang, but an extremely
It's fine.
serious face that, scares the other person? Is it
You
actually your
mean
words?
resting bitch face? You can say that if you wanted to say that.
I was like,
It's
can I
fine.
say that or not?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Also
If you
about
got
being
resting
authentic,
bitch
as
face.
your podcast is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you've got a resting bitch face, then you're gonna have to work on that. And I think what we don't talk about as well is that we've got like your body language leaks, and they will usually convey the message that you really mean before any word comes out of your mouth. And so we put so much emphasis on what we're going to say and not actually how we're saying it. And it's your responsibility to look at, all right, have I walked into that room with that resting bitch face? Is it actually that it can be something as simple as you're stomping? Like, people will usually know what vibe or how you're feeling or what mood you're in by the way that you look, because that is going to tell them way more than anything they need to know before you even open your mouth.
Mm. This is so important because, like, honestly, to be in your true authentic power, you have to express yourself fully. Otherwise, if you don't, it will catch up to you one day or another. And that's when you actually hit the obnoxious stage of demanding and asking for what you need, because you've had it, like you're at your wits' end with people, whether it's your partner or your boss or whoever else. And yeah, just the art of learning how to recognize your needs and then express them in a way that's, respectful, like we discussed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, I love the way you said it as well. And when you said one day it's going to catch up to you, I like to say to people as well, like, what is it that you're feeling at the moment? Is it frustration? Is it resentment? Is it misunderstood? Is it um like, I can't, like, nobody really listens to what I have to say?
Yeah.
We've all got something, right? So you'll have the
Stories
dialogue with,
going on, exactly.
yeah, and then you're also going to have the feelings that are coming up. And exactly as you said, if we don't acknowledge, well, why do I feel resentment? Usually you feel resentment because you're not expressing what's important to you and you're not being authentic.
Mm. And you
Why
blame
do
the
you?
world for not understanding you or not getting it, but you haven't done the work yourself in the first place. You can't blame them then.
Absolutely spot on, like spot on. And I say, and this honestly came out of a client session today, one of the hardest things, because everybody always says to me, Mira, where do I start with communication? And I say awareness. Like, I know it's a boring answer, but I'm not here to give you something that's not true. And it can be the hardest work to be honest with yourself. And
Yeah.
I felt it. And I always say, like, we're all still healing, right? But I remember when I first started doing the work, the hardest thing was understanding that the way I operated, the relationships I had around me, were a result of how I showed up in the world. I was too scared to be authentic because I was so
Mm.
used to doing what everyone else needed, wanted, and probably like subconsciously the desire to be liked. I had to realize that's nobody else's responsibility except mine. Why do I feel I
Right.
need to hide from the world? Why do I feel that if I say something in my relationship, he's going to leave. Why do I find it so hard to ask for help? And it's not easy. And I'm not saying by any means start unpacking it all and try and do it all by yourself. But like, it's very difficult to make change if you aren't willing to look at yourself first.